I was once talking to a friend of mine who was working on a film, like a big film, like Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg big. And he said to me, you know, the thing that kills me, Rock, is that we're spending like $25 million on this film or whatever, like some huge amount of money. And 85 to 90% of the people who receive this work, who watch this film, are going to be watching it on their phones. And I thought about that and I was like, man, from like a director's point of view, a writer's point of view, a producer, the actors, like the whole crew, you know, people, the cinematographers, the lighting people, the sound people, the wardrobe people, the craft services, like everybody, the, you know, the background actors, the, you know, like everybody involved hates to think about that, you know? But then I thought, like, I've watched movies on my phone. I don't like to do that, but I have done it because it's available to me. And I might be somewhere where, you know, I'm just hanging out, like in an office waiting for something or whatever, you know, I might just do that, you know. I don't do it often, and I don't like to do it, especially now. I have tiny phones. I have two phones, and one's an iPhone SE and one's an iPhone Mini. And so they're tiny little phones. And so I'm much less apt to do that now, and I actually got those phones because I wanted to consume much less content on my phones. You know, I want to be more engaged and more involved with what I'm doing out in the real world all the time. And I don't want to be looking at my phone all the time. And so the smaller the screen, the less interested I am in consuming stuff, you know? And it's definitely addictive, you know, and so you have to like take proactive steps to get yourself away from that screen if that's what you want to do. And, you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with consuming all the content that you want to consume. It's fine. You know, it's up to you, how you want to live your life, you know. It is what it is. Like, it's a huge part of our culture. I don't think many people can even imagine leaving home without their phone, you know, for any day. Like, most people don't do that. And that got me thinking about easy mode because, you know, I got a couple of comments today from somebody. And at first, you know, I couldn't really tell the energy that that's coming with, you know what I mean? You know, maybe he's going to watch this video too. But I always like to think that people are coming from a good place, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to think everybody's a jerk, you know what I mean? And I'll use that word so I can, you know, not have the YouTube police come after me, because I got a dirty mouth for sure. But anyway, you know, he brought up a good point. You know, he said, like, there are people out here just throwing their phone up, Samsung phone, and getting 5,000 views and making all kinds of money from AdSense, you know. And he said to me, forget about the lights and, you know, making it look beautiful and the sound and all that kind of stuff. Just have engaging content. And, you know, you have to admit, at the end of the day, story is the most important thing. What you're talking about, what you're sharing, what you're exchanging with people. I don't care if it's YouTube or a major motion picture. The most important thing is the content, you know? I personally think the most important thing in a video is, you know, next to the content, because the story is the most important thing, but sound is crucial. You know, it's got to sound good. You know, if the sound is unprofessional, it sounds weird, and it's got like all that room ambience and all that stuff, people are going to not stay there. You know, if it's hard to listen to, if your, you know, dialogue is like clipping and distorted, and or if you're like a million miles away and people can't really make it out, that's not good. But I actually agree with him that it doesn't really matter all that much what the video looks like, you know. And I got plenty of videos, you know, and a lot of these videos are private because they were just me working things out in my plays and things like that. But I've decided I'm going to make a lot of these videos public. So I don't know if you'll ever see them because I'm not going to go back and work on all the SEO and stuff like that, but I'm just going to make them public so if people happen to want to peruse through my channel, they'll see these videos of me doing monologues, running around New York City, just working stuff out, you know?
And Jamal raised his hand, all balled up in a missile of violence and confusion and years, all tight in his palms, surrounded by red and white knuckles, about to strike like cockback and about to break. And damn, Saint saw 35 years of this shit, of a lost leg, of a lost love, of never getting the past, of understanding the cost and the pain, of grateful, of remaining joyful, of angry insides all hot and rising like a volcano, like sick, like cancer, about to erupt and flying. So Jamal throws and Saint ducks and he pushes Jamal, and Jamal falls back, and Esther screams, and the little boy's holding his baby sister like a blanket, like a bulletproof vest, and the mother cries in fear, and Jamal slips and hits the back of his head on the wall where people have been watching him, and boom, and blood, dark black fear in his eyes, they roll back in his head. Jamal swallows his tongue, he pukes and he convulses, his body's flopping like a fish out of water, he's ferocious, sucking for air, his gills like that expanded, his heart explodes out of his chest, and now Jamal's spirit begins to fly like seagulls, like clouds, his light is fading now, like angels, he's floating, he's leaving, he's heaven-bound.
Because I think they're interesting. And they're all about the content, they're all about the story, they're all about the words that I'm saying, the characters that I'm developing, that's it. And so that is most important. However, for me personally, it is important to make it look good because I want to practice working on my lights. Like any chance I get, I'm going to work on the way it looks, the lights, the colors, the aperture that I want to work with, the depth of field. Like, it might not be important to the person receiving this video, but it's good for me to work on my craft. There's nothing wrong with that. And if it looks good, I know it's not going to hurt me, but I also know, and what this guy said to me, which is correct, is that the most important thing is what is coming out of my mouth, not the sound of it, which, that does matter somewhat, but it's the content, it's the story, it's the information that I'm giving to you, that I'm sharing with you. There's nothing that even compares to that, I could look like anything, it doesn't matter. This frame, I don't have to have these cool lights and all this stuff. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't, However, having said that, it does matter because a lot of people consider this a filmmaking channel, which kind of freaks me out a little bit, but it is, it is all about cameras and lenses, and not cameras, because I only use my Panasonic S5 and my Panasonic GH5, because those are the only two cameras I have. And I don't use my phone to shoot just because I don't do that, I don't enjoy it. I don't have a workflow like that. My workflow is easy, I record, I take out the memory card, I drop it in my computer, I edit in DaVinci Resolve. It's easy. It's easy for me to sync audio. It's no problem at all. It takes me like 30 seconds. I use a Zoom H1N audio recorder usually, or I'll use a Hollyland Lark Max, or I'll use a microphone on top of the camera if I'm talking really close to it. Right now I'm a little bit too far away to do that. And so I enjoy that too, because that's what I do, I mean, I do a few different things professionally, where I make my real money, hopefully, honestly, it's been a lot different since the pandemic, but, if I were to define myself to people as a professional, I would say I am a playwright, a performing artist, a solo performing artist in the theater, and a filmmaker. I'm also a musician, and I earned my living as a musician for many, many years. But for the last 15 to 17 years, I was completely in the theater, writing plays, performing them all over the world. That's how I lived, Pandemic shut that down, so I became a filmmaker, and I made a movie with my phone. Ironically, to the guy who reached out to me, I made a full-length feature film with my phone with the LG V40, and it became an award-winning film. And it completely changed my life and changed the direction of what I'm doing, which frankly has been difficult for me and confusing, because I've been asked to remount a play that was supposed to open on June 12th of 2020, which obviously got shut down. But, I'm kind of like, people think it's easy to just remount a play, especially for a solo artist like me, where I have to memorize like 2.5 hours worth of words, over 200 pages of a script. Like when I went on to make a film, I had to let those words go. I had to release that, which was really hard for me to do, because obviously, think about how hard it is to memorize 2.5 hours of a play where you're the only actor in the play. That ain't easy. And so when I released those words, honestly, I went through like a mourning process. It was like somebody died. Like I had to let go of something that I never got to use. And add to that, I thought it was the best play I had ever written in my life. You know, and I've had some really successful plays. So that was difficult for me. But, you know, looking back, I know a lot of people say this and use this phrase a lot, but I really mean it. I wouldn't have it any other way because I am in love with what I'm doing now, you know. And I'm incorporating my live theater experience and my work with my filmmaking. And I'm actually working on a film right now that's going to incorporate live theater with the film. It's like a multimedia piece. And it's really ambitious and challenging, but I'm a filmmaker for the rest of my life now, without question, you know. And, you know, to be honest with you, I think I am more of a filmmaker because I'm not a filmmaking channel where I'm talking about every camera that comes out and every camera that exists and every lens, you know. To me, real filmmakers, and, you know, again, I'm not throwing shade to anybody because YouTubers who show us all these cameras and stuff, they're geniuses. They're amazing. They do great work. And there's nothing wrong with doing that full time and earning a living and taking care of your family and doing all this stuff, you know. But for me, I found a camera that looks the way I want it to look, can do everything that I want it to do. I feel comfortable with. It makes me excited to go out and shoot. It inspires me. So the Panasonic S5, like, I don't need to upgrade to an S5 II or an S5 IIX or a Sony FX3 or whatever. You know, like, I don't need autofocus. I don't care, you know. And I have the lenses that I love. I have two anamorphic lenses that I love. You know, they look amazing. I have my vintage lenses that I use 90% of the time. And so I incorporate that into my channel. So it is kind of a filmmaking channel, but it's not like, I guess you would say, up to date with the gear. Because I'm using, you know, people look at me like, how could you use a Panasonic S5? Like, they want me to finish the sentence. Like, yeah, I'm using a Panasonic S5. That's it. Not an S5 II, not an S5 IIX. And I'm good. And I'm not waiting for the next Panasonic Lumix camera, you know, the S1H Mark II. Like, I'm good. You know, if this camera gets destroyed, I'm good with my GH5 as well. Although, you know, I would probably get a new camera if something happened to this one because I'm so used to full frame. I'm so used to working this way. It works for my workflow. And all my lenses are full frame for this camera. And they're L-mount, so I would probably upgrade to a Lumix or maybe a Blackmagic camera that uses L-mount, you know, the 6K Pro. But I guess what I'm talking about is, you know, I just got monetized 2 days ago, and I'm so, I'm off the charts excited to see what that means. I have no idea what that even means. I don't know if people throw around all this stuff like, I don't know if I'm going to make $5,000 a month all of a sudden, or $5 a month, or if I'm eventually going to be able to make $15,000 a month. Like, I have absolutely no idea. But I know it's not going to change the way I do YouTube all that much, you know, because I do it in the way that best suits me. I'm being genuine to who I am, you know. I'm being authentic, you know. I'm not trying to do anything that is not who I am. So, yeah, easy mode for me is like, I'm not interested, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. But I guess in the video before I said, oh, please don't do easy mode. I don't really feel that way. You know, like, you know, if that's what you do, do you. It's fine. But I do think there is something to wanting to maximize whatever you do. That's just how I live my life, you know. If I got a YouTube channel and it's like a TV show or a movie or a documentary, whatever, I'm going to try to make it look and sound as good as I can do. And I'm going to try to bring the best subject matter to the table as well. I'm going to try to make it meaningful. I'm going to try to make it impactful. I'm going to try to disrupt you and make you pay attention to what I'm doing. And I'm going to try to make it incredibly entertaining, all of it. You know, that's what I'm going to do. So easy mode, if you could do that with just your phone and you got these subjects that are just so amazingly interesting that nobody cares, I'm impressed and I'm inspired by that, and that's great. And you know what? There's so many things to talk about in the world right now. Easy mode is fine, you know? If you're like in the middle of some country where there's horrible things going on, it's dangerous and people are surviving and there's these inspiring stories or tragic stories or whatever, and somebody just got a phone, that's heroic that they're even putting that content up. And suddenly that content looks incredible because how did they even do that? Why are they even doing that? They're amazing. But, you know, I'm not in that situation, you know, so I'm trying to make it look as good as I can. But I'm also trying to share things that matter, you know what I mean? I'm not about any bullshit. I'm not just trying to shoot videos, you know, I'm trying to bring some kind of value, you know, contribute something to whoever is kind enough and nice enough to come to my channel. And I guess that brings me full circle, you know. I looked at these comments like, yo, I just made a whole video about this guy. I can't remember his name now. You know, I know it's something like Honest something or other. No disrespect, not to remember, but in this moment right here, I don't remember. And, but, you know, in my mind, he's nice enough to spend some time, kind enough to take the time to actually comment. He hasn't said anything rude to me because, you know, I ain't the one to be rude to, you know, I'll just block you, you know what I mean? But I'm definitely not the one, like I feel like a lot of people do that online because they would never do it in person. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I don't have any of those feelings about this person. I think he's being sincere, you know? And nobody should ever tell anybody how to act or how to talk or whatever, you know? Like, as long as we're not rude, as long as we're considerate of one another, you know, as long as there's some common respect, you know, just basic human decency and respect, I'm good. You know, I'm from New York City. You know, I'm all about attitude. It's fine. You know, I got friends who a lot of people are afraid of, you know, because of the way they talk. But I know that they're the kindest, nicest, most helpful, most generous-spirited people you've ever met in your life. But, you know, they're from Brooklyn or the Bronx or Staten Island or Queens or Manhattan or whatever. And so, you know, it's a cultural thing, you know. Sometimes when you don't even understand the language that somebody's speaking, you might wonder what their, you know, what their intention is behind that or whatever, you know. Everybody's got a different culture, but there is a certain respect that you can feel from somebody. And honestly, I feel like it's all good with this guy. And, you know, it's noted in my head that he's right about that, you know. And it kind of checks me to, you know, look at myself and go, okay, you know, keep doing what you're doing and be authentic and be honest and be true to who you are, but bring stuff that's interesting, you know, and don't just preach to a few people, like try to make it broad, you know. Like I've mentioned this in the past, like when I'm developing a play or a film, any kind of script, and I go out and I do these little staged readings, you know, where I just bring my script and I get in front of an audience and then I do these pretty extensive Q&As. I try to go to cities that are culturally completely different than where I come from, you know, more conservative places, you know, more traditional, you know, places that are not as diverse as where I come from, because I want to hear from them, you know, because we all live in this country together, you know. So I want to do the same thing with my channel. I want to include everybody, you know, I want to hear from everybody, and I'm not just going to shut you down, you know. I've had some stuff in the past where, you know, I've had comments that have bothered me, but I had to think like, you know, why did they bother me? They bothered me because it's not the way I think. It's not what I believe. But they didn't really, I've never had anybody say anything completely untoward to me, you know, like really rude or, you know, like completely jacked up. Like, I haven't experienced that. I mean, sometimes I get some crazy people who see my shows or they see me perform or they see me in a movie or whatever. But, you know, those are people who to me are just like, I don't know what's up with them. You know, they're mentally ill. They got nothing to do. So they're just about attacking people or saying stupid shit. But that's very rare, and certainly not this, you know. So easy mode is a thing on YouTube right now. It's cool. I don't care. I don't care for it. It doesn't move me. It's not interesting to me. But I am all about interesting content, you know, like subject matter that moves me, that's important, that's disruptive. I'll use that word again. I'm all about that, you know, because art should be disruptive, you know. It should make people feel somewhat uncomfortable, but not in an attacking kind of way, but in a beautiful kind of way, you know. Create characters that are beautiful, create stories that are amazing, you know, and disrupt people into this discomfort that they're, you know, like put them in a place that they're not used to have them consider things that they would never have considered before. That's what art is for, in my opinion. And I guess first and foremost, with my YouTube channel, I'm an artist, you know. Like I know some people are on YouTube and they're plumbers or electricians, or they work on Wall Street, or they own a bodega, or whatever, you know. But on YouTube, they're a YouTuber, you know. I guess I'm a YouTuber, you know, to a lot of people, but I'm an artist in my real life. Like, that's what I am, you know. I'm an artist. I make art. I share art. That's what my life is about. And so that's what my channel is going to be about. First and foremost, always, I apply the same rules to my YouTube channel that I do to my plays or my films or my music. It's the same, you know. It's all about trying to be entertaining and trying to talk about things that matter and trying to include as many people as possible, you know. When people say, what's your target audience? I'm like, the human race. And I know to a lot of people that sounds pretentious and stupid or whatever, but that's really how I feel. I want to include everybody. When I get people who are like the least likely person I ever expected to, you know, feel like my work resonates with them, I feel like I've done something really special, you know, that I'm most proud of, because it's easy to preach to the choir. Easy to talk to people who think exactly the way you think. But when you start to cross that barrier between the two of you and come together in a way that's like respectful and actually engaging, where you're actually listening to one another, that'll save this country. That'll save the world. You know, and now more than ever, let's face it, the way this country is, I mean, imagine if everybody was intending to do that. That's everything, yo. That's everything. And so I got to thank honest whomever, and I appreciate you kind of shaking me up a little bit and making me think for a minute. You know, because yeah, my first response was like, wait, like what? But then when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? He actually made some helpful suggestions. And I think we're all quick to resist somebody who doesn't feel exactly the way we feel comfortable with a person being. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. You know, easy mode is cool, but it ain't for me, you know what I mean? But I think if you watch this whole video, you understand why. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just kind of saying, especially if you're a filmmaker, you know, why not take the opportunity to work on your color grading, you know, work on your lighting, you know, work on your manual focus, you know, work on your setup, you know, your scene, like work on your depth of field. Like, why not? Why not take that opportunity to work on your white balance, you know, your ISO settings, see how the camera works in different settings and stuff. Like, why not? Why not use different lenses, see how they feel, get used to focal lengths that make you feel the most empowered to tell a story. Why not? But if you're not about all that stuff, why would you even think about that? You certainly don't have to. And I agree with this dude. Like, there are so many people who are incredibly successful on YouTube who just use their phone and just talk in front of their kitchen, you know, the refrigerator or whatever. That's cool. It's just not the world that I'm living in, you know, but I don't think it's bad. I'm just not that interested in it. All right, so thank you to that man, and thank you to everybody for, you know, again, I'll say thank you so much for getting me monetized. It took me 5 years, yo. I mean, 5 years of scratching and clawing and working hard, trying to figure it out, going through the ups and downs and all of that. And I'm just so excited to see what the possibilities are. But again, I'm going to use what got me here, you know, and I'm going to continue on in the way that it got me here. And I'm just going to continue to be me and, you know, continue to do all the work that I do outside, making movies, doing plays, stuff like that. I mean, that's my life. But this is my life too. I mean, I post here almost every day. And I do that because it's easy for me. I don't have to, like, I can work on a script all day. I could go out and shoot all day, and I still can find the time to do this. It's not a problem for me. It's easy. It's not not something that's extending me beyond, you know, like exhausting me. I enjoy it. So I'm going to be here. And I really love the fact that there are so many people here with me who I can kind of look forward to their comments when I shoot a video, and, you know, go to some of their channels and see what they're doing, and, really enjoy that and be inspired by, you know, people who come to watch me. I mean, that's what it's all about, you know, an exchange. So thank you to everybody for everything, you know, and I hope I could be as good a neighbor to you as you are to me all the time. So in a minute.